Oh, sorry. Okay.
Okay, we're recording.
Okay, so we will get back to our regular session of council. We did pass a resolution to close the public hearing and reconvene our regular session of council. And we are on item number 7.4 on our agendas, the Waste Quadrant Working Group. And I know that the Woody Waste briefing note is there, and I'm not sure, Mr. CAO, if you want to speak to that, or if it's for information, or if Councillor Spicer would like to speak to that item.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm just trying to bring up the document here. And I'll just bring back the share.
Yes, be good.
And there was a Woody Waste briefing note provided, Madam Mayor, and I'm just going to share it with council right away. And the intent of the Woody Waste was a brief update on the work that's been done between the various municipalities. So what's happened is that since 2019, there's been work occurring with the Winnipeg Metropolitan Region for the Waste Quadrant, Waste Quadrant Working Group, and it's involved the Center of Indigenous Environmental Resources, as well as the chiefs from the Southern Chiefs Organization. And in that, they looked at opportunities for working through on what are some of the opportunities for reducing greenhouse gas emissions, and look at what are the initiatives that can be taken into consideration. Through various observations, they've come forward and recommended that the communities participate in the pilot program to take a look at reduction of burning of wood wastes and utilizing wood waste as well as other byproducts in order to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. As part of that, what they've asked for is the Waste Quadrant Working Group participants who wish to take part in this pilot program to come forward with a council resolution and confirm it for the project team by March 15th. The intent here is to take a look at how woody wastes, how wood byproducts can be received and then possibly chipped, as well as do some composting of other materials that are yard wastes. And the intent here is to see if there's any advantages and how it aligns with the work that the RM has already been doing in our solid waste management. And to that end, what we are recommending is that the RM participate in the Woody Waste Pilot Project and possibly even partner with some of our surrounding municipalities.
Thank you for that. So, Councillor Spicer, do you have anything that you want to add? I know that you've been sitting in on these meetings and I've been working with that committee. The note that Deepak referred to is not much of a note, it's more of a book. So, did you have anything you wanted to add, or will we just pass our resolution to participate in the pilot?
Just quickly, I think the intent is that the WMR was also going to look for some funding to do this pilot study, so that's one thing. The second thing is I guess the recommendation is to go ahead with it, because at this point right now, we have no concrete volumes of how much woody waste we actually deal with. And, you know, if you had time to read through the briefing note, there are many types of woody waste, right from, you know, construction demolition to clean tree branches to, so there's a bunch of different types, and compost material like grass and leaves. So if we could be involved in in the pilot study, and they're talking about 1 to 2 years. At least then we would have more information to figure out where we go from there. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Spicer. Anybody else have any comments? Go ahead, Councillor Boulanger.
Once you indicate you're interested in the pilot, is there a sense of when they're going to notify people? Do they want to have this implemented by spring milk, by May, by June? Like, whoever's putting up the funds or the grants or whatever, like, do they give you a deadline when you need to apply and a sense of when you're going to be notified?
The next step, once the RM identifies they want to participate in this pilot, the Winnipeg Metropolitan Region, who have been sort of coordinating this as part of the working group, will then begin to solicit bids for wood chippers who could then provide that service to those areas and then look at the cost of that wood chipping and what's involved. They'll also take a look at how many communities are participating and how many could partner together. So if there's a central location, maybe other communities could also come and be part of that, and that'll become the next step. So this is all part of that entire pilot program, data collection, and then to be able to then determine what level of, to have actual data on the level of greenhouse gases that we are now diverting from our landfills, as many of these products generate methane gas and other gases and problems as well that impact leachates and other things as well.
Okay, I believe you have a resolution to participate in the pilot project.
Yes, Madam Mayor, and the resolution is, whereas the Waste Quadrant Working Group, WQWG, is a result of a partnership between the Southern Chiefs Organization, the Winnipeg Metropolitan Region, and the Centers for Indigenous Environmental Resources. And whereas the purpose to facilitate collaborative discussions between communities on shared waste management challenges, to identify solutions and to explore options for a circular economy. And whereas eliminating the open burning of wood waste materials was identified as one of the early priorities by the group, as it provides an immediate opportunity to divert waste from landfill, lower greenhouse gas emissions and air pollution, improve service delivery, and enhance collaboration among Waste Quadrant Working Group participants. And whereas the RMSA Clements wishes to work with the Waste Quadrant Working Group project team to develop a proposal to pursue a short-term pilot study as a necessary to lower risk and scalable interim step to engage service providers in conducting a real-world test of shared services approach to wood waste, chipping, and diversion within the region. Therefore, be it resolved, Council authorize the administration to participate in the Waste Quadrant Working Group Woody Waste Pilot Project.
Okay, thank you for that. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Spicer, Councillor Strang. Seconds, any discussion? Go ahead. Oh, you were frozen on my screen. I thought you had your hand up. Okay, I don't see any hands going up, so I will call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, Councillor Horvis is saying he's not hearing so good again, so maybe...
Did that get turned off when it was buzzing?
No, it's on. I'm just not sure about how loud we have to speak. I think Deepak is trying something there. See, today he can hear me. All the other meetings he could never hear me.
So try again, Councillor.
Is that better, Councillor Horvis, when Deepak speaks?
Can you hear me, Councillor? He's frozen.
Yes.
It's probably like,
It appears, Councillor Horvis, that you're frozen, so Deepak is going to speak again, and hopefully you will be able to hear him. We're going to move on to the next item, which is the Kirkness Skating Rink.
There he is.
There he is.
He was.
Yes.
Yeah, he seems to be cutting in and out. It might be his internet connection.
Right. Okay, so which is the Kirkness Skating Rink, and I believe what that was is they came to us to see if they could take the garbage from the outdoor rink to the transfer without being charged for it, so I believe there's a resolution to be brought forward. Mr.
Correct.
Administrator, did you want to speak to it at all, or?
I think you've laid it out very clearly, Madam Mayor. They've collected garbage at the rink, and then they asked to be able to not be charged, and we did contact all of council and received approvals through the email, and this is just a formal resolution in order to do that.
Thank you for that. So if you could read the resolution, please.
Certainly, and I just lost my email again on that one. Colleen, do you mind reading that resolution while I bring that back again?
Thank you. Whereas a request has been received from Kirkness Skating Rink to waive the tipping fees when garbage gathered from the rink is taken to our transfer stations, and whereas support has been received from council to do so, therefore be it resolved, the tipping fees at our transfer stations be waived for garbage brought in during the seasonal opening of Kirkness Skating Rink is hereby ratified.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Sutherland, second Councillor Bazarowicz. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, 7.6 on our agendas. There is a letter from the Red River Basin Commission, and I see Councillor Strang has her hand up. Go ahead, Sandra.
I'm just going to declare conflict on this.
Thank you. Okay, there is a letter from the Red River Basin Commission, as I said, and it's regarding our 2021 membership, and there's also an invoice to pay the fee to belong to the Red River Basin Commission. So I'm not sure if anybody wants to speak to the letter. It was quite self-explanatory. So Mr. Administrator, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, Madam Mayor, our recommendation at this point was to forward this to the budget deliberations as part of the invoice, unless council wishes to pay the invoice immediately, or we just address it as part of our budget process.
I guess, I'm not sure if we have paid any this year, but I know that in the past when memberships have come forward, we just kind of pass them as they are presented to council. Colleen, have we done any this year that you're aware of? I know we have not been here that often, so.
I'm sorry, off the top of my head, I cannot think of it, but you might have.
Okay. So what is the wish? Should we pay this one today or leave it to do the budget? Pay it?
Yeah, they're gonna be paid.
Yeah.
Can we come back to it so I could put in the resolution?
Sure.
Or just know that I'll put in the right resolution?
Yeah. It would be,
29.
no, because I think we're gonna have the
We can vote on, we can just do a resolution.
resolve that.
Resolve that the R of St. Clements participate as a member in the Red River Basin Commission.
And that would be moved by Councillor Bazarowicz and seconded by Councillor Belanger. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay. 7.7, signing authorities. I believe there's a resolution for that one, and I'm going to let our CAO speak to that one, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This has to deal with our assistant CAO, who is resigning from the RM and has taken on a job in another RM, and it's to deal with her signing authorities, and we're putting forward a motion that gives us the ability to be able to make that change.
Thank you for that. So if you could please just read the resolution for us.
Whereas Colleen Saylor's last day at the RM of St. Clements is March 19, 2021, therefore be it resolved, current signing authority for Colleen Saylor be suspended at the end of day March 19, 2021. And further be it resolved, the following persons be named as signing authorities for the RM of St. Clements. 1, either Mayor Deputy Feeblecorn, or Deputy Mayor Glenn Basarowicz, or Councillor Dave Sutherland, and one of either Deepak Joshi, Chief Administrative Officer, or Heather Stanek, Planning Officer, or Shannon Plishke, Finance Officer.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Strang, Councillor Sutherland seconds. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. 7.8, change in meeting date. And we kind of talked about this one a little earlier, but we'll have the resolution to actually have that meeting date changed so that planning can change, or planning can send out the appropriate notices, because it is a planning meeting and I'm sure we'll have some planning items that evening. So go ahead, please, Deepak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's just, I'm bringing it up. We've identified that there's some conflicts with the March 23rd date, and what we're requesting is a change. I'm in trouble coming up. There we go. Where it says, whereas a quorum of council is not available for the March 23rd, 2021 council meeting, therefore be it resolved, the March 23rd, 2021 regular meeting be changed to March 30th, 2021 at 2 p.m.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Strang, Councillor Sutherland seconds. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, the next one is the CAO contract, and we talked about this at our special meeting last week, and we said that a resolution would be brought forward, so I believe that's what Deepak is going to share with us.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The resolution being brought forward in order to address the change up from 4 days a week to 5 days is that resolve the contract of Deepak Joshi CAO be amended from 4 days to 5 days a week, retroactive January 1st, 2021, and bank time accumulated from November 2nd, 2020 to February 28th, 2021 be paid out. And further, be it resolved, Mayor Debbie Feeblecorn and Deputy Mayor Glenn Basarowicz be authorized to sign amendments.
Okay, can I have a mover, please? Councillor Spicer, Councillor Basarowicz seconds. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. 7.10, tax sale reserve bid. I believe there's a resolution for that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The resolution is whereas the date for the 2020 tax sale has been set for March 23rd, 2021, with a public auction to commence at 12 p.m. And whereas pursuant to Section 372 of the Municipal Act, a municipality may set a reserve bid in the amount of tax arrears and costs in respect of the property. Therefore, be it resolved, the Rural Municipality of St. Clements place a reserve bid on all properties in the amount of all arrears and costs in respect of each property offered for sale at the public auction.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Sutherland, second. Councillor Basarowicz. Any discussion?
Question,
Go ahead.
how many properties do we have for sale?
I think when I looked at the paper yesterday, because I did have a phone call about one of the parcels, maybe 8. But those could all be gone by the time the tax sale date comes. I would say not more than 8, it could be a half a dozen. So
Okay. The call you got, was it for their property or they're looking to buy a property?
they were inquiring about a property, so.
I've also received a few calls about properties as well, specific properties.
Yeah,
One of the most common requests has been, what if the properties that they're acquiring for tax sale are occupied? And we've informed them that it's a responsibility of the purchaser to vacate the property. And then once they purchase the property, they would deal with whatever authorities they have and deal with it as a trespass situation or whatever, or negotiate with those people living there. That's all up to them.
okay, I never really looked at the list that closely. The one that I had a question on was a vacant piece of land, so Go ahead, Councillor Belanger.
Just a question, because I don't know the answer. I've already asked this before. Do tax sale properties generally go for far below the asking value, or is it just value on the book or value on assessment, or?
A lot of them go for less, but I see Colleen has kind of put her hand up halfway, so go ahead, Colleen.
This resolution ensures that the municipality recovers all costs that we have. But yes, generally speaking, they will not go for the assessed value. They go to the highest bidder.
But we do try and get all our costs, because there are a lot of costs that are associated with all the, I mean, some of them are charged back to the people, but we still try and get all our costs back when we're selling those properties. So, anything else? Go ahead, Councillor Sutherland.
I just have a quick question here. I don't know if we ever resolved it. Now that we're talking about properties, there was a lot close to GMCC that we had found that it was the person, it wasn't registered to them, or it was, do you remember? I can't recall what that was.
Was that little triangle piece of property?
No, it was actually a cottage lot to the east of GMCC.
Oh, to the east or way on
Or
Anderson?
maybe further over. I can't remember. That's months ago.
Okay.
We were going to look into it, and I wish I could give you more
Well,
specifics.
we can talk about that a little later, because I think I know which property you're talking about.
Okay.
Okay, anything else on the tax sale? I'm sorry, Colleen, do I have a mover and a seconder?
Yes, you do.
Okay, so if there are no other questions or any further discussion, I have a mover, I have a seconder, I will call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, the next two, I think there are two resolutions, and this is as a result of some of the work that the trails are doing for a crosswalk in Grand Marais and a crosswalk in East Selkirk here. And I guess the way I understood it is, even though everything is being worked on, we still have to provide trails with the resolution saying that we're supporting what they're doing.
Correct. What it is that we're providing a resolution so that trails can, and then these resolutions can be shared with Manitoba Infrastructure. There are two properties, or two paths that we'd be looking at crossing. One is Path 12, which is under provincial control, so we have to pass a resolution where then the province will take a look at that and then look at providing a crosswalk on that, and whether it meets some of the criteria associated with the province, Manitoba Infrastructure related to speed on the road. In the case of PR 212, where the trail will be crossing across of Colville Road, it is under the jurisdiction, although it's a provincial highway, under the jurisdiction of the RM. It's appropriate to pass a resolution requesting for the crosswalk, and then that would be informed of the province, but the responsibility of the RM.
Okay, thank you for that. Any questions or comments before I ask our administrator to read the resolutions? Okay, go ahead, Mr. CAO.
Resolved, the community of Grand Marais and Red River North Trails Association, Inc. would like to see a crosswalk across Path 12, a declared highway under Manitoba Infrastructure Highways, at the location of Grand Beach Road, a designated highway under Manitoba Infrastructure Highways, and Sunset Avenue at the north side of Grand Beach Road in the community of Grand Marais. Further, be it resolved that Council supports a crosswalk at this location and is requesting administration to make this request to Manitoba Infrastructure Highways and provide them with a copy of this resolution.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Belanger. Second, Councillor Strang. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. And there is one for Colville Road also, I believe.
Yes, Madam Mayor. Resolved, the community of East Selkirk and Red River North Trails Association, Inc. would like to see a crosswalk across PR 212, a designated highway under Manitoba Infrastructure Highways. And at this location, the Arm of St. Clements is the traffic authority at the location of PR 212 at the former railway bed, municipality-owned property, private land. Further, be it resolved that council supports a crosswalk at this location and is requesting administration to provide this information to Manitoba Infrastructure Highways and provide them with a copy of this resolution.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Boulanger, Councillor Sutherland seconds. Discussion. Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, I can't see. Next, we have number 8 on our agendas is our closed list of accounts. So I'll ask our administrator to please read the resolution.
Resolved, council approved the March 9th, 2021 list of accounts, check numbers 21000380 to 21000467 in the amount of $245,797.50 for payment.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Spicer, second. Councillor Sutherland. Discussion or questions? Go ahead, Councillor Strang.
So I was just looking at my total amount and I thought, wow, it was quite large compared to everyone else's. And so I thought I'd come and look in my mailbox and I think it's 2 checks have been put together, but I don't have any copy or any record of it. And I know I didn't get paid for one of them, that my thing didn't go through. But anyways, I would just like some confirmation of the dollar value or something of a receipt or an invoice, because I know we don't get that anymore.
For your, not for your monthly indemnity, but your expenses?
Or both even, yes, it would
Yeah.
be great. Because I don't know what was put there into my bank account. And I would just like some clarification also.
Okay. All right, and I think what Councillor Strang is referring to is at one time we used to, for our expense checks, we used to get each other's sheets and kind of compare, like, I'll use for example, Councillor Boulanger, if you and I went to the same meeting and I charged 2 hours, or I charged 4 hours and you charged 2, you'd kind of go, why, kind of thing. So, you know, it was kind of a way of kind of checking up on each other too, and sometimes, I mean, most of us have had no mileage over the last while. I know I sure haven't. I think the only one I would have is when we went last week someplace and I go to the fire hall last week. And that's the only mileage I've had from the last probably 3 or 4 months, so. Go ahead, Councillor Sutherland.
Yeah, is that the way it's going to be, that we don't pay for like our statements at the end of the month?
Well, that's kind of what we're talking
Well,
about.
that's what I asked, yeah, I'm asking the same
Yeah.
question.
I kind of
Can we
think
go
that,
back the old way, or?
well, I think perhaps Deepak, did you want to speak to that, or Colleen, or, you know, like, I think,
What I can do is investigate further and report back to council.
perfect, thank you. Because even for our monthly indemnity, we used to get like a copy of the check that showed
Yeah.
all our deductions, and it was just in a small envelope. And then our expenses, we got all each other's sheets, and if you wanted to compare, you could. So, along with a copy of our check that showed all our deductions.
Right.
And I think part of the conversation, I know Councillor Sutherland and I had, is we know that there were some mix-ups with the Blue Cross. And when Councillor Sutherland and I were talking, it looked as if Councillor Sutherland was paying over $300 a month for Blue Cross. I looked at it, and I believe that was a catch-up for what you had not paid previously, but no, I don't believe that anybody's Blue Cross is that much. Go
No,
ahead,
that was
Colleen.
That
If
was,
I can also
Is everybody
stress
on the
the
same
importance
idea?
of council
Right.
submitting their expenses in by whatever date has been established. Because Councillor Strang, I can speak to yours directly because I was there. So you brought in 2 months, and then there was the one that they canceled and replaced. So we'll confirm, but I'm sure that's why this last check was so big. But it's important that you guys submit your expenses each month by whatever date is established by payroll, because then the reports that you get will actually mean something.
Well,
Right.
and I thought that date was actually either the 7th or the 9th of the next month. I can't quite remember, but I know that they're due on the 15th. Councillor Spicer?
I remember the 7th or.
The first
Yeah.
week, yeah.
Yeah, so, but no, I believe if you're paying a family Blue Cross, it's somewheres around $180.
That's what I'm paying them.
Correct.
$90.
Yeah.
So
In
I
the
guess
case-
I guess I can get that changed then, because my wife is on her own.
Yes, you can get
You
it
can
changed.
get it changed.
As well, I think our finance officer contacted everyone to let them know about the issue that happened with our Blue Cross. And that was a catch-up to be able to collect where there was an outstanding amount.
I knew that.
And so that's where I think the numbers might have been a little bit different, but yes,
So-
they should be that high.
Right,
There's no
so
way it
it's
should
my
be $300.
understanding now that our total
$180.
Blue Cross deduction will be taken off of our monthly indemnity, and our expense check will have no Blue Cross taken off of it.
Right.
That's the way I understood it.
That's my understanding as well, because
Okay.
especially lately, there aren't very many expenses, and
Yeah.
we cannot issue a negative check.
Right,
Yes.
right, so, but I mean, it's just as well, because we don't know how long we're gonna be in this, and I mean, if we have to pay it for the month through, out of one check, so be it. So, any other questions on the list of accounts? I had a mover, I had a seconder, I will call a question, all those in favor, opposed, and that is carried. Okay, we have our 2020 December 31st financial statement. Anything that you want to share with us on that, Mr. Administrator, or will we just pass the resolution? I'm not sure why it has the word unaudited in there, like, is that new? Because we've never had that before,
Yes,
unaudited?
yes, this is a requirement of the Municipal Act. It must be filed by March 15th of every year.
Right, I'm thinking though of our monthly statements that we get. It's never been noted as unaudited
And-
before.
Yeah, no, this is just because of the requirement, that's what it's called. So this is our first unaudited statement on December 31st.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, did you have anything you wanted to add, Mr. Administrator?
No, Madam Mayor, I think we have had discussions as part of our budget deliberations as to where our financial standing is as in relation to these. And as the Assistant CAO has just laid out, we have to pass this resolution in order to get our unaudited, or the last, it's an internal audited statements that would be then submitted to the province of Manitoba, and then we would do, the next step would be the audited statements themselves.
Okay, so if I could have the resolution then, please.
Resolved on December 31st, 2020, financial statement preliminary unaudited be adopted as presented.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Bazarowicz, Councillor Sutherland seconds. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, we're at number 9, the bylaws, and maybe if we don't have a lot of discussion, we can get the bylaws done, and then we can break for our lunch. So with that, the first bylaw we have is the Provincial Offences Act for first reading. And Mr. Administrator, I don't know if you want to comment on that one, or just give these all first reading to get them on the table. And we do have to have some public consultation and public hearings, so we can move forward once we give them first reading.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. What I can do is just give an overview of all three, and then we can read them as first reading. The intent here is to have a first reading of these bylaws so that then we can share the information with our residents and then get public input and then have a public hearing on specific dates that we identify. Our intent is to be able to, after the first reading, is to be able to publish these bylaws as well as create a frequently asked questions related to each of these bylaws and also stagger them as they come in. So our intent is the first two, which are the Provincial Offences Act, which gives us our authority to be able to issue common offense notices, as well as dealing with the traffic bylaw, which allows us to deal with various traffic-related issues, especially on the roads in our municipality, things like weight restrictions and other things that are related with traffic and parking and so forth. And finally, our maximum speed limit bylaw, which the work has been underway for quite a period of time in consultations with the various stakeholders, and it identifies speed limits ever since the province of Manitoba gave authority back to the municipalities to be able to set their own speed limits on provincial roads that are under their jurisdiction, such as Coville that we just talked about. And that bylaw, in order to give proper notice, we're saying would come approximately a month later for public hearing. So if you are okay with that, Madam Mayor, what I'll do is read the very first one.
Yep.
And this one is to deal with the Public Offense Act. So resolved, bylaw 4 of 2021 being a bylaw for the rural municipality of St. Clements to provide for implementation of the Provincial Offences Act be given first reading.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Sutherland, second. Councillor Spicer, discussion. Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. The next one is resolved bylaw 5 of 2021 being a bylaw to establish the maximum speed limit on highways or portions of a highway under the responsible traffic authority's jurisdiction be given second reading. Or first reading, sorry. First reading.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Bazarowitz, second. Councillor Horvis, any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And the third one, bylaw number 6 of 2021.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Resolved, bylaw 6 of 2021 being a bylaw to provide for the regulation of traffic, parking, and the use of streets, roads, and sidewalks within the limits of the rural municipality of St. Clements be given first reading.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Strang, Councillor Boulanger, seconds. Discussion. Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. And we have one more that I can't see on the screen there, but it is the general reserve bylaw. That was the newly created reserve that we spoke about at our meeting last week. But Deepak, go ahead if there's anything that you want to add at this point.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As it is a bylaw, it'll be given first reading, and then it comes forward at a later time for second and third reading. The intent here for bylaw 7 of 2021 is to be able to create a general purpose reserve that the RM can utilize. All the reserves that are in the RM at this point are all special purpose reserves related with public works or recreation or other related items such as utilities and so forth. This would be a general purpose reserve that can be used to address unforeseen budget issues throughout the year if the RM so wishes to utilize it for.
Thank you. And at this point in time, this is just some, I guess, revenues that are going to be transferred. Like most of the reserves that we have, it all comes off with the taxes, like $500,000 goes into the machinery replacement or whatever. This one is not like that at this point.
At this point, Madam Mayor, the intent of council is not, as far as I understand, not to assign any tax revenues to this. It would be utilized through additional funds made available, surpluses into the budget, but it's open to council in the future as to what they might use it for and how. But it'll go through a public hearing at that time.
Yes, thank you for that. Any other questions or comments? If you want to read the resolution, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Resolved, bylaw 7 of 2021 being a bylaw to establish a general purpose reserve fund be given first reading.
Can I have the mover, please? Counselor Strang, Counselor Boulanger seconds. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, we are going to have our lunch break now, and I think we should probably reconvene by 1 o'clock. So if I can ask that the recordings be stopped for the moment, please.